think, to organically kind of develop in a market.
A couple things I'd like to ask, and then we'll take some questions from the audience. One of them is, for the startups in Turkey, because they're just developing their ecosystem for entrepreneurs, do you recommend that they, especially Alan, because you've got mentoring experience all around the world, do you recommend a Turkey startup to try to raise capital there, or do you recommend them to come to perhaps here or an area that's got a longer tradition and start the business, get some traction, and use that evidence to build up their investment and their connections?
I think ultimately, I don't know if this is a satisfying answer, but it depends. And it depends because if you're building a business that's very focused on the Turkish market and on unique opportunities that exist in that market, then you're probably going to do the best basing your company there, addressing it from there, and ultimately raising capital from local partners there, like 212. Small endorsement. However, if you're addressing a global market, I think you have an option. I think depending on how you want to look at it, Endeavor's actually supported several companies. We call them sort of returnee models, right? But one of the first companies we backed in Turkey was called Airties. The founder, Bülent Çelebi, worked in Silicon Valley for 25 years. When he wanted to start a company, he realized he had a competitive advantage to go home to Turkey and to ultimately bring engineering teams, and he brought several dozen people who were Turkish engineers from the valley back to Istanbul to live and work in Istanbul to start to build that company, which is ultimately now a global company, but he did it from Turkey. So I think it can work that way. We also have great examples now of companies like SocialWire or Hazelcast who started in Turkey and have come to the US and raised money here. So depending on what market you're going after, I think it can work either way. I don't know what you guys think about that.
I think, you guys covered most points, but one thing to add from me, the very best angels tend to be the ones that can really help beyond, writing the first check and essentially take a leap of faith on you, and they're the ones who have domain expertise in the specific market or product that you're building. So it doesn't matter where the angel is located, but if that individual happened to start a company in the same space 3, 5, 10 years ago and can be immensely helpful to you, I definitely consider jumping on a plane and going and talk to that individual because there is a lot of lessons that can be learned and essentially jump-starting the business.
Thank you. Let's ask to the entrepreneurs in the crowd, any questions that you have for our panel? Please, call that out.
So what may be the biggest concern for in the point of a startup, a VC in Silicon Valley? What should be the biggest concern for investing in a company in Turkey? If you list them all, what they can be.
For a Silicon Valley-based investor looking at a company in Turkey.
The biggest concerns.
Can I add one more question? Basically, Steve said he reviewed 500 proposals over the past 2 years. So, you have US companies, you have Turkish companies. What's the attraction? Why would you want to invest in Turkish companies as opposed to the companies that are starting up here?
I can start if you guys want. Endeavor works a lot with investors here who are looking at Turkey or other parts of the world, and I think they come in 2 categories. There's investors based here who are very interested in the big market opportunities that the rest of the world presents. So these are some of the firms that also went to China or to India and now are looking at Brazil and looking at Turkey, and they really care about the market, and they think, okay, some local innovator is going to master this market in these different verticals and look big companies to build there. That's sort of group one. The second group really believes, and I would put Niko personally into this camp, that great innovation can come from anywhere. And so you can build a global company really starting anywhere, whether that's in Israel or Estonia or Namibia or Turkey, And I think there are investors who are curious about what's happening in a place like Istanbul because they're looking for that next billion-dollar company that might come out of any ecosystem. And so I think there's kind of two different groups. And some firms have partners that fall into both of those camps, and so then they're kind of attacking both. But specifically to your question, I think the hardest part for Silicon Valley-based investors looking far, far away is there are just so many things they don't know. Right? There's so many unknowns, whether it's language and local customs and cultures and taxes, and there's all these things they have to try to figure out. And so what they really are looking for is local partners and local kind of things they can trust, whether it's local firms as co-investors, local angels, or just things they can hold on to that they know and understand. So if it's a Turkish founder who went to Stanford Business School, they're like, oh wait, I understand Stanford, I can figure that out. And I say it a little jokingly, but literally that's what gives people trust, is when there are institutions and networks around individuals that they can help sort of hold on to in order to trust putting their money into a company on the other side of the world. And that's not unique to Turkey, but that is a dynamic between Silicon Valley and the rest of the world.
Actually, on the top of that, actually, we are talking with a lot of investors, foreign investors from Silicon Valley or from Europe. And what I see, as we talk, your VC or your investor should add value to your startup, and it requires some face-to-face time or spending time together. And we don't even have a direct line. It's small thing, but it's obvious, and it's really far away, especially for the early stage. What I see personally, investors from Silicon Valley, they usually look at like bigger size, bigger check companies, which are already invested in Turkey, and we are waiting the other generation to come up there. That's my vision on the topic.
And a few, like points from myself, you have to know very well who you're pitching. For example, how much capital they have under management, how big their fund size is. So if it's a fund size that is north of $300 million, in order for the math to work out, they would like to have $1 billion plus exit. And if that's the case, and the company that you're building doesn't fall into that count, it's going to be a little bit harder for that investor to get excited. I think, as Adam said, talent is universal, while opportunity is not. Silicon Valley doesn't have a monopoly in innovation or new venture creation. Obviously, we've been very fortunate to have a lot of success stories, but a bunch of super interesting founders are starting companies all over the world. In our case, we don't check the passports of the founders. 20-30% of the people that pitch us every week, either here or over the phone, they're born overseas. And we're very often investing in teams that have their R&D in other parts of the world, and at some point realize that their biggest market is the US, they want to come here, or in stuff that is really unique. And if we come across a team that is doing something really differentiated, we're going to jump on a plane tomorrow morning and try to make a case and beg them to take our money. And this has happened to me like a few times. It's roughly once a month that I find myself on a plane and travel to all places in the US, but also all over the world. So we really look forward to finding these unbelievable entrepreneurs that happen to have a vision that could transform the world as it exists today. And a lot of them were born overseas. That makes sense. The numbers imply that.
Just to Niko's point, many people are happy to jump on a plane. It does help if you have a direct flight. For the folks from Turkish Airways, wherever you are, we want that direct flight.
Okay, entrepreneurs, what other burning questions do you have? And now's the time to ask. Yes, sir.
Let's say, well, they're all silent things, but let's say, I do have a company, and I have a good traction, I have an awesome team, and I have everything you guys are looking for. And I got a lot of feedback from different type of investors. So how can I choose, the best investor? It doesn't matter in overseas or in here. because what I try to do, let's say, is that global, we are solving global problem, specific, the market. How am I going to choose, the best, fit?
The first thing we actually ask entrepreneurs when we're working with them on a fundraising process is, what do you need besides the money? And I would answer your question the same way. At the end of the day, what are the 2 or 3 biggest priorities for your company at the moment when you're raising money? It might be expertise, it might be connections, it might be people who sold into a certain market or segment of a market before. But really ask yourself, what are the most important things we need right now for this company, outside of capital, and who can provide that the best? That's how I would pick.
I think it's the investment for both sides is like a marriage. And when you get married, it's really hard to get divorced. And like they should really add value what you are doing and what is your problem. They should be able to help you, but on the top of things, the relationship is really important because you are going to be partners for a long time. I think that's really important.
Yeah, to add to what Dilek said, it's definitely like a marriage, and unlike marriage, there's no divorce here. And that's very, very hard. So the foundation is there any personal chemistry? Do you enjoy hanging out with the other person? And doing so both at a business as well as more like fun setting. In terms of a tactic, you should definitely ask that individual or the firm to provide you with a list of founders and CEOs that they backed in the past, companies that are successful today, but also companies that failed miserably, or founders, CEOs that were fired by their board. And it will help inform your decision quite a bit. The last point has to do with the experience. So that's pretty easy. With VCs, you can check it out very quickly. Just go to the portfolio page of their website, and you can see if there are any companies that are in the same space with you. If not, make them pay up a valuation.
Wow, that's good advice. Okay, entrepreneurs, yes.
Probably lately we've been hearing about the crowdfunding. So how would that be compared looking at the VC? Because most of the entrepreneurs that we're talking to, the way that when you listen to a VC, you feel that this entrepreneur has to be rich some ways, that he can have a seed fund himself or probably from his friends and family. But today we have also the crowdfunding. Would that be helping the valuation when it comes to the VC? I mean, would it like have an appreciation because since you have a different option, and it's quite a strong option now today, especially if it starts picking up.
Let me say one thing on that. It's really great if you have a product that you can sell on crowdfunding, like a Kickstarter. If you have something, it's not an investment of equity then, it's a product that you're selling. But if you can sell that way, you're getting traction. And it's a great way to test the market. If you can put a software product or hardware product on a Kickstarter or Indiegogo and get traction, then that's just great news. All those folks that you can talk to and find out feedback on your product. Let's turn it to the family.
Yeah, I think that all the investors are looking for signals. So crowdfunding is very much, like a series of signals. If it's like on Kickstarter, there you have a bunch of potential early customers and funds that are going to spread the word for you. If it's on Angel List, a lot of people already took a leap of faith in you. So I would say that if the signals are strong and they're positive, investors will definitely, take it into consideration. As far as the value that the company receives on that, it depends on the product, the founder, and the market that they're going after. If you raise a lot of capital from a lot of individuals, and none of them has skin in the game, it's a little bit tricky to make them pay attention to you when you face problems, or if you raise a lot of capital for a product that will be delivered 1-2 years down the road and you fail to do so, you're not going to do good either. So managing expectations and knowing what you are signing up for is really, really important. support from day one.
Okay, we have time for one more question from entrepreneurs. Ooh, now all the hands go up. Okay, let's go to the slate right now.
Hello, my name is Natalia, and from the standpoint of American startups, we have like various services and products, and you said that more likely we want to invest in products because the market is saturated with services and it's been a long time in the market. So what kind of products you're more likely in what industries looking American companies come to the Turkish market and as a customer acquisition and set their offices? So would it be like wearable devices, connected vehicles, financial? So what kind of products are more likely you would like to invest in the American startup join the Turkish market?
Just one point to clear. We don't invest in service businesses because.
We didn't hear the question.
Okay.
Summarize the question. I meant.
Let me say, so the question from, tell me if I get this right, Natalia. The question is, do the companies that go from the U.S. to Turkey, are they investing in services or products? And if products, what kind of industries?
Yeah, but basically because services, I know in Turkish market that e-commerce and concierge services are very in demand, and I know this market is well developed. So basically, what kind of next trends you looking to invest more like the product?
What kind of next trends are we looking to invest in?
Okay. Just want to clear one point. We don't invest in service businesses because it takes a lot of money and effort to scale the business. But for product, if there's a product market fit, it's going to scale in the long run. What we are looking in Turkey as an investment, actually, as I said at the beginning, we're really looking for startups that is solving really fundamental problems, big problems. But we are really keen on enterprise software in Turkey. That's why we are really keen on enterprise software, because in Turkey we have a really, really high quality industrial engineer and engineering talent, which we can really leverage on. And I see a lot of startups now. Big data, we have really good talent in big data. Mobile, of course, everything is going mobile. We are really keen on platforms, which makes everybody's life easier and creating value. But other than that, we are not really looking specific things. The team and the problem, the size of the problem is really important.
Very good. Okay, thank you so much for your questions. And let's thank our